So I think you can see this is dry. There aren't any springs that come out of here out of this whole mountain, but you have a whole mountainside above you. So as you cut along with the road, you're going to encounter the springs coming out if you're lucky enough to have them. These are spots where they are. Now I was already here yesterday, me and the homeowner, and we're using, this is spots where the water came out, where it's supposed to be in a ditch, and it came out across the top and caused flooding and caused erosion on the edge. So to fix that, we've gone uphill to where all of this started. You can see a sedge grass in here. You have to continually cut on or it goes crazy. It becomes a bog that you can barely get through with the truck. And all of this started, you can see now there's clear water running out of this pipe. For the last 10 years, this pipe has been clogged on this end. So what you do is where you have springs coming out of a hill, you got to dig a ditch to gather that. That's going to run it to a low spot, and then you put in a culvert, meaning a pipe, just an under anything where it can go under a road and drain out. Now what had happened, at some point, all of this came down, clogged the drain, and all the water for years and years and years was flooding out across the top of all this. The problem with that is it adds a lot of weight into the top of your road. It was creating channels that were running through. It was feeding this chunk of sedge grass that you see here. And we had mass erosion that happened in the winter here. So we've had to put in, these are willows that'll come back to life. These are all chunks of grass. You can see what they are. They're basically plugged, shoveled up, put down here. It's the wet season right now, trying to build the bank out. And we'll take more of them from here and try and build back this edge, have maybe a tractor guy come in here, remove the rest of these willows that grew in. So this was the pattern. At some point after the person that was here was digging these ditches, this property was in other people's hands. They didn't maintain this. There was either dirt or the willows themselves, which have airborne seeds, which blew up in here. They grew in, and there was huge root wads, like you get hair in a drain. I know that's gross, but I had to pull them out of this pipe. And now all the water that comes out of all of these natural springs here, which we haven't tapped, we're just running out to the creek. This just goes straight down and back to the creek, which is a good thing. We're not hampering anything. Now it all goes under the road instead of across all this. The weight, half the reason why the dirt was falling off here was the weight. It's like a huge soggy, spongy mess, and not only was it hard to drive through, but just it would continuously slough, because this is made out of, you make a road like this out of the dirt that you carve off the bank and you push it out, so it's like half the cut that you're making and half the slough that you've pulled up from above. So if that makes sense, that's what we've done. So every day now this will get drier and drier, but I mean, it was wet under here. This was just mud. And you can see it was flowing down, I mean, on the top of this. These are my tire tracks from yesterday. But so that's how we resolved the spring issue, and if you didn't have that, then you would have to dig that in. Now you can see the flow here. Look, this is the muck we pulled out. There's the end of the pipe. We'll dig it out more, of course. But that's how much flow. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a spring. You can see there's actually some coming out right here, just right out of the hillside behind it. So this whole thing is an actual spring. You can see that's probably what happened, is it had a huge slough, and then these airborne willows grew in here, and if you don't take them out, they just go crazy and clog the whole thing. Here's the upper part of the spring here, coming out of the hillside. You can see it's beautiful, just clear stuff. There's that much water flowing all year long, but if you're just letting it go, it'll eat your road. So anyhow, that's the pattern. Coming out here, coming out here, coming out here, coming out here, instead of going all the way down and causing a muddy mess, which is going to make it all erode into the river. Now it goes into the tube, through a metal tube, back into the creek. And yeah, next step would be a crew of people by hand, a couple people for a day, or a tractor person, come in here, scoop the rest of these willows out, pack the bank with it, scoop up the extra, and then just dig a ditch and expose the end of that pipe better. And then this leads up to an upper meadow where we've actually caught springs and harvested them and have them tanked, and that's something else I want to show you. hopefully in this video. If not, I'll get to it. But for now, got to get back to work. You see the muddy pits will go away. Got to get those filled in so they don't create their own little erosion pits, but that's all in the future. So there you go. See, these are all weak edges where I've pulled clumps of grass out here that were hard to drive over, and where it was caving away and there was just literally nothing holding it, and it's just falling away. Whumping these clumps in, stomp them in, treat them. I've had to weed whack these down every year to be able to get a truck through here, and believe me, they don't die. You chop on them, they come back. So I'm filling every little rut along the edge of this road with these two, and then any willows that we pull out, because they'll grow back from anything. But yeah, that's where we're at. So it's not good stuff. So you see here boulders, living willows that'll stick out and root in. More dirt, and as you get to the top, all this clump grass. You can see we've already put some down there, but this needs a bigger fix. But the water isn't coming downhill to it anymore. So this will actually turn into a brick probably in 100 degrees. So we'll smooth that out before it does that. And then we'll have the road fixed all the way. So that's a happy thing. Instead of trying to maintain a mess, we fix the problem. Okay, one more look at the wall here. You can see brought in the little chinks and filled the top now, so it's way more stable. The more little ones you have, the less it wiggles. They tend to wedge in between stuff and take up the tolerances that create the wiggle. Now in the back here, you can see that I've established my line, brought down some boulders, relieved some over the back there. They'll be put back down on. The plan here now is to use this flat. You can see this will be where the big old willow is. We're bringing it in, put in a crate. I mean, it's big enough to be in a crate already. So what I'm trying to say, here's the face of the wall. And that'll go into flat. And then instead of doing another terrace here, what we've decided to do is just clad it. So we'll do a bottom row of boulders and then on up and on up. This wall will actually be coming up more like this. I did a lot of cleaning up of the slope and evening it out in the background. But this will be like a pyramid of boulders in the background here. So this wall that you see will come over to that. This flat will come in here, and then the pyramid comes up, leaned back though. Instead of being a stacked wall, it'll be leaned back. As I come to the side, you can see more what I mean by that. So you can see where I've cleaned up half of it there, and that's the angle that the rocks will be at. So it's a great way to retain its bottom with the next one on top of that. Boom, boom, boom. And then the flat there, you see the last little bit of grading that I got to do. Who's the crazy guy over there at the rock wall on the camera? Who knows, right? But yeah, that's where that's at. And these were the trees that we put in yesterday, and they're all watered in. And then the homeowner was over here. She's putting in all these. Brain is stopping right now. These are irises that have been divided up from where they needed to be over yonder, and now they've been split up. And then what I'm walking on, each one of these is a California poppy. So the ground is covered in them, and that's the blue fuzz that you see in the background here. So that's what this will look like. And these are huge clary sage coming out here. But yeah, I think the light today is really, really awesome. There's that row. There's the wall. Okay guys, we will see you at some point in the future. I will show you next time I get back here and I put the wall on. For today, I'm just going to finish smoothing this out, get the project at a good stopping point. Got a little tree to go in our other row down here that runs along the fence. And then I'm going to peel out of here for a little bit, and we will see you on down the road. Each property has its own blessings, and those blessings, if they're not controlled, being natural resources, can of course get out of control. And because usually humans have meddled with it, there's hardly any spot in the planet that hasn't been messed with in the last 2,000 years or whatever. So the point is a lot of the land needs human interaction, needs the gardeners out there. We need the 6 billion people on the planet to all become more informed about all of the skills that are being lost, all of the trades and traditions that are slipping away in the generation gaps, things that aren't being taught as we move on to a more technological society. And the only way to hold up and have that balance, I think, is modern infrastructure mixing in with the old techniques and know-how, and those two are going to make a golden world for us. But right now, in the basic, one of the goals of the Dirt Journal is just to kind of bring you through the things that I encountered.